Two reports, both with major criticisms of the BBC, both out on the same day. Questions about its editorial judgment in a documentary about Gaza and criticism of its handling of repeated complaints about presenter Gregg Wallace. A review has found that Gaza, How to Survive a War Zone, breached accuracy guidelines because it didn't disclose that its narrator was the son of a Hamas official. The review found Hoyo Films, the production company that made it for the BBC, bears most of the responsibility, but that the corporation was not sufficiently proactive with initial editorial checks.
I think, people really care about the BBC. We are accountable to the public and to the licence fee payer. We take that incredibly seriously. Yes, mistakes do happen. And in an organisation of the size of the BBC, when they do, our job is to make sure that we are gripping them, that we understand what went wrong and that we're putting measures in place to solve for those.
You are cooking for a place in the semi-finals.
Today's other report was into presenter Gregg Wallace and his behaviour on MasterChef. After an investigation by law firm Lewis Silkin, the BBC said his return was untenable. It found 45 of 83 allegations against Mr Wallace were substantiated, the majority of which happened between 2005 and 2018. The largest number of substantiated allegations related to inappropriate sexual language and humour, but a small number were about him being in a state of undress, and there was one relating to unwanted physical contact. Furthermore, investigators found 6 complaints were raised with the production company Banijay and 6 with the BBC between 2005 and 2024, with no formal action taken until 2015. Today, the BBC said, although the full extent of these issues were not known at the relevant time, opportunities were missed to address this behaviour, both by the production companies running MasterChef and the BBC. We accept more could and should have been done sooner. Last week, Mr Wallace said he'd seen the report, claiming it exonerated him from the most serious allegations, but he did apologise for what he called his inappropriate humour and language. And this lunchtime, the government waded in.
It is important that the BBC has acknowledged that there have been a series of catastrophic failures over recent weeks. I've asked the board the question of why has nobody resigned. The reason I did so is because I want to see proper accountability.
Today, there are serious questions for senior BBC executives as the corporation reels from yet more high-profile crises. Sally Biddulph, ITV News.
Our correspondent Sejal Karia has been following developments this lunchtime and joins me now. What impact could both of these reports have, both on the BBC and potentially its bosses?
Well, the corporation and its bosses are under fire, and I can imagine that over at BBC HQ there is turmoil this lunchtime. Not one, but 2 major reports highlighting failures in the BBC, all in one morning, and coming so soon after the fiasco over Glastonbury, when it live-streamed anti-Israel chants. And that prompted the regulator to say that the BBC needs to get a grip. And it seems to be going from one scandal to another, whether it's Russell Brand, whether it's Hugh Edwards, or it's the DJ Tim Westwood, and also from one apology to another. Now, the BBC will be seriously concerned over what all of this is doing to the public trust, not only in the corporation itself, but also into the bosses as well, especially, as we heard there, that it is funded by the licence fee. We pay for it. So there are serious questions that are going to be asked of its Director General, Tim Davie, because all of this has been happening under his watch. Now, in a statement over the Gaza documentary report, he's apologised and he's accepted the report's finding that there was a significant failing in relation to accuracy in this documentary. And he goes on that we will now take action on 2 fronts: fair, clear and appropriate action to ensure proper accountability and the immediate implementation of steps to prevent such errors being repeated. But the question this lunchtime, Nina, is whether he can survive long-term as the boss of the BBC.
Sejal Karia, thank you very much. Thank you. Our political correspondent Harry Horton joins me now. Harry, rare for a Labour government to be going head-to-head with the BBC, but this is where we're at, it seems.
Yeah, that's right. And Lisa Nandy has been highly critical of the BBC in recent weeks. We heard in Sally's report her there saying that she's questioned why no one's been sacked over these scandals and why there hasn't been any accountability in her view. She's been highly critical of the Director General, Tim Davies, had several direct conversations with him in recent weeks, much more so than we've seen her predecessors do. Now, the BBC is supposed to be editorially independent. Politicians of all stripes do voice their opinions about the BBC, but it's the frequency of the attacks from Lisa Nandy that have raised some eyebrows. The Department for Culture, Media and Support that she oversees says that there's an important distinction between independence and accountability. But look, all of this is going on ahead of the BBC's charter renewal, which is due in 2027, that basically looks at everything the BBC does and how it is funded. And I'm sure those conversations have become a lot more uncomfortable, both because of these scandals and the way the BBC has dealt with them, but also because of the way in which the Culture Secretary has chosen to react.